Welcome back to the Run the Numbers podcast. And today, man, we're taking a trip down memory lane. Today, we're going to cover the top pain points in tech pricing along with some suggested solutions. And in order to get there, I think it's important to set the stage as to how pricing and packaging has evolved since the advent of software. Pricing and packaging has undergone a radical transformation since the early 1950s, and the clear through line is a changing unit of value and how it's tracked. We're going to get into all this and much, much more after a short word from our sponsors, Campfire. I hate to break it to you, but you've been lied to. We've all used legacy ERPs that make it seem common to have painful migrations, endless consulting fees that break the bank, and even after you're live, getting simple answers still means hours in spreadsheets. Yeah, try getting to ARR in QuickBooks. Not going to happen. Campfire fixes that. It's the AI-first ERP built for modern finance and accounting teams. It's helping mid-market and enterprise teams close faster, unlock insights instantly in the ERP, and scale smarter without the additional headcount. And get this, I use Campfire myself. Your boy, drinking his own champagne here. And it's been a game changer for mostly media. The interface, intuitive, migration, a breeze, and it's freed us up to focus on strategic work like doing this commercial read. They just raised $35 million from a sell to further reimagine the ERP. That is not easy to do. I'm excited to see how they keep reimagining this space, and you should be if you care about the future of finance. Check them out at www.campfire.ai today. That is www.campfire.ai. Okay, so historically, the tech industry has undergone 6 waves of change. What you'll notice as we go through the various waves of software is there's always a segment that's left behind because it still remains the best way for them to do business. And that's fine, but each new wave was created because the system wasn't perfect for the vendor-customer relationship. Computing started being commercialized in the 1950s. In the first wave, hardware and software were sold together. The software had to be for your specific model, not just your maker. And it came pre-installed on your hardware. Computing in those days were delivered in semi-trucks. Has anyone listening ever taken a delivery from a semi-truck? If you have, you are old. Just kidding. It had to be installed on site, and it could only be installed by whoever you bought it from. So the software salesman was really the hardware salesman. And most of the software just allowed you to build software on your computer for whatever you wanted to do. It was more about making it programmable. It was a choose your own adventure type of deal. So if you've ever seen the movie Hidden Figures, the women in that movie are learning how to program the IBM computer that's delivered there and get the software to do something useful. The metric for pricing here was the hardware. And there are still some vendors in this wave today, like GPS systems for the military. But largely the actual delivery of software with hardware ended in 1969. There was a case against IBM that actually made it so it couldn't be bundled. Even so, for decades after and even today, there are pieces of software that come with your hardware, but it's no longer the main way it's sold. We start to break apart the hardware from the software in Wave 2. In Wave 2, you could buy software that would go on another company's hardware. This is the wave that Microsoft capitalized on the most. The pricing for this wave was called full packaged product. And for every unit you bought, you literally got a box. It came with a floppy disk and a manual. Eventually, they'd put a CD instead of a floppy disk, but nonetheless, the term shelfware comes from this era. You have all these boxes in a closet on a shelf. Eventually, companies said, for the love of everything good, please stop sending me all these damn boxes. Microsoft moved to a certificate of authenticity that looked like a bearer bond with a hologram on it rather than pallets full of software. All those boxes remind me of my Amazon bill for my house. And a relic of this era in software today, we still often refer to the thing we are selling as a SKU, a stock keeping unit, because customers expected to receive something and they tracked it as assets. It's easier to track a physical asset rather than an ethereal one. I can't say that word. It's a very hard word. Microsoft came up with a successful agreement called the Enterprise Agreement, where you would tell them how many PCs you had. Wow, we're getting into contract history. And they wouldn't ship you anything. You just get one document. The innovation here was the counting. And keep in mind that there isn't a one-to-one relationship yet between people and computers. There's no reason for people in the warehouse or trucks to have a full-time PC yet. On-prem goes to the customer, and whatever the customer does with it, they do. It's on their servers, their desktops, and it's sold in a perpetual way. The metric is to count something physical. So to take a step back, if in the hardware phase, the pricing metric was the hardware, in this phase, the metric was originally the box, then the paper, and then the proxy, which was the number of PCs. Then we have a shorter third wave come along in the middle of the 1990s, the application service provider era. People began to question if maintaining their own servers was still the best way to go about business. Rackspace is still around, they serve a niche, but they are one of the last ASPs. Customers said, I need to worry less about deploying the actual application and make sure when employees come to work, they can just open up Excel and use it. But the unit economics nor the strength of the internet were there yet. We're still using unstable internet technology, beep, pop, pop, which creates a lot of downtime across the board. And the unit economics didn't really work for the customers, taking some servers out of their own place, but still needing a few to run stuff. It's expensive. The ASPs kind of vanished or crashed all at once with the internet bubble in 2001 when we learned we didn't know as much about the internet economics as we thought we did. Okay, so now we're getting real. We have a number of developments in the mid to late 2000s that bring the fourth wave along: outsource infrastructure and software as a service. First, Amazon launched elastic computing in the late 2000s. The idea that, hey, we aren't using this all the time. We have seasonal ups and downs. Is there a way for people to pay us to use the infrastructure we aren't using seasonally? So they picked the best parts of the ASP model and went at it again. And around the same time in 1999, we have Salesforce. Ever heard of them? Who's born in the cloud. It's like Bane. I was born in the darkness. I was born in the cloud. This is the start of the software as a service era. And then in 2006, you have this other thing coming forward. Google Apps. They said, hey, you don't need to buy that expensive heavyweight Microsoft software for every user anymore. We have this free lightweight stuff over here you can deliver over the interweb. Great. It wasn't that great yet, but hey, it's a start. The metric here for AWS, they're not selling you a server, they are selling you compute. Way to go, Jeff Bezos. He had a big wedding. They're abstracting the physical server up to a different unit. We can sell a megabyte of storage. And similarly, Salesforce is saying we can license each individual user. Google followed that same path. So it took us over 50 years, but we got to the SaaS era where by 2009, everyone thinks, wow, this SaaS stuff is for real, not just a fad. And investors, they eat this up. How many of you measure ARR as a North Star metric? Yep. The ARR view was much more predictable, and they knew the math resulted in a larger customer lifetime value. But here's the rub for vendors selling software. Everyone feels better. We don't have all this extra infrastructure in these massive server rooms. But in the SaaS model, you still have shelfware. It's just not physically on a shelf. And that's actually worse because you can't see it anymore or really know who you're spending it on. You can't walk down the hallway and be like, hey, is Bob using this application or not? And so CFOs start to push on vendors to say, I want to buy a different way. And this brings the fifth wave, usage-based pricing. Wow, we got there. The pendulum is now seemingly swinging back to the customer. Like I said, the push originates in the finance department. They say, hey, IT has grown to become one of my largest cost centers, but I can no longer walk around and point to who's using it. All this money is going to per seat, so we only want to pay for what we use. But here's the new rub. This doesn't work for vendors when customers want to buy like electricity. You start to hear the dirty word pricing optimization pop up in earnings calls. In a rising tide situation, usage is the best. The economy is growing. All my customers are growing. I entice them with a low-cost offer to do stuff in the old cloud, and data and usage grows. Wow. But in a receding tide, it's terrible. It's real bad. As customers shrink, I shrink, and the revenue becomes wavy, and it's hard to make investments in my roadmap. And then what happens is the customers actually come back and say, wait, this isn't actually what I wanted. I was wrong. I thought I knew what I was signing up for, but this thing is uncapped. I have these pesky overages. So now we have tensions between customer and vendor. It isn't good for anyone when a customer turns at the top. And that's how we get to the sixth wave, where the puck is going today. We absolutely have a lot of companies still in the fourth wave, seat-based SaaS or IaaS, as well in the fifth wave, usage-based. This is the attempt now to blend the best of both worlds, a trend we've seen throughout all these phases, really. So let's try to take what worked and drop what didn't. The hybrid model says you'll pay me so much per month for this resource, and if you have overages, we'll have a usage model on top of that to compensate. I get to have my cake and eat it too. And at the same time, the customer can predict their spend to a higher degree of certainty and understand what they've committed to. But it also brings a pain point. It's hard to explain, trying to right now at least, and often hard to link a value metric. So, some top pain points and solutions based on what we've discussed so far. We find ourselves at a unique inflection point where many vendors are jumping on this sixth wave, a hybrid model. And at the same time, we also have a technology where both customers and vendors have limited experience pricing and packaging it, AI. So let's talk about those pain points today and solutions we can identify through this trip through history. Woo! Still got some gas in the car. All right, first pain point. It takes too long to explain to potential customers how we charge, and it's slowing down deal cycles. The whole point of pricing is to make money. It's bad when the pricing construct actually slows down revenue. So the solution, you need to count in a way that makes sense for the customer. You need to count something that people understand. It doesn't matter if you've come up with this complicated thing that you understand on your end. That is selfish. The value metric for a warehouse ERP is how many pieces do I have in the warehouse? Do not try to invent some convoluted measure in a back room without talking to customers. So here's an example that my friend Jason Kapp from Blue Rocket gave me when I had him on the podcast. Oracle proposed a big sale to a city in the Netherlands. The city said, "We will never buy this. It is far too expensive." Oracle went back to the drawing board and said, "What if we charge you X amount per citizen per year?" Ooh. This was brilliant because the municipality thought about everything in terms of citizens. Their tax base, their hospital base, every service they had was tied back to the people. And by counting how they counted, they won the deal. And by the way, it was the same total amount as before. Second pain point. Okay, I sold the deal, but now the users of my software can't communicate the bill to my accounting department, who foots the bill. This is at the other end of the problem I just explained and something I've experienced personally. First, we spoke about winning a deal at the front end of the house. Now we're talking about avoiding churn because the back end of the house doesn't get it. The solution: associate costs with activities to provide clarity to both accounting and users. A bill that says $400 and you don't know what that's really for isn't good business. Break it out and say, hey, this much for storage, this much for compute, etc. So the accounting department and the users of the software can have an educated conversation. Let me tell you, as an FP&A person, this is near and dear to my heart. It means a lot to my financial forecasting. It's hard to do it in a black box. You need to bill your customers in a way that illuminates, not confuses. The third pain point: how do I fairly price AI in a way that covers my costs and also provides value to my customers? Unlike traditional SaaS, where scaling comes with near zero marginal costs, AI flips the equation on its head. It's not like traditional software. It's expensive to run. And scaling AI isn't just a matter of adding more servers. It's about making significant investments in infrastructure, energy, and data. So the first question to ask yourself is this AI product I have a standalone product like a ChatGPT or a Jasper AI, or an add-on to an existing product like Canva or Notion? If it's a standalone, charging a per user fee is still the simplest way to sell a product and the simplest way for users to buy one. I pay $20 per month for ChatGPT. Easy. Very simple on-ramp. If it's augmenting an existing product, you can either bundle it as part of an existing package to increase overall sales of that package, or you can make it a higher price package tier, say pay $5 for AI features, or B, an a la carte add-on. Pay $5 more for this AI module on top of what you have. Now, if we learned anything from the first two pain points we went through, you'll want to avoid coming up with some confusing usage-based pass-through costs and just make it simple for people to buy. The other lesson here is to listen to what users are counting. We are still very much in the early innings, right? There are only a few companies out there like an Intercom who have made some pricing innovations with their AI products by charging based on a specific value metric. Intercom made a splash with pricing for their AI product, chatbot Finn. The product is priced at 99 cents per successful resolution. So that directly aligns the price paid with the value received. But don't get arrogant and think you are there if you aren't yet. And that's okay. Not only could you slow down revenue, our first pain point, but more importantly, you could also screw up your cost structure. So my advice would be to keep it stupid simple until you talk to enough customers to make a move that clearly links to a value metric. A value metric that you can also forecast your own costs based on. So in the words of my friend Kyle Poyer, another pricing expert, the name of the game right now seems to be One, make pricing predictable, and two, don't make it a barrier to using your product. So, gearing towards a close, you'll see there's a constant search for clarity by both sides throughout history. As a vendor, I want you as a client to understand the value I'm delivering, because if you understand that, you'll be more willing to pay and keep me long term. And as a customer, you want to understand the cost of what's being delivered. I only want to pay for the people who are using the product and the value they are getting. And that only comes through clarity and mutual trust. Those are the two tenets of any pricing construct in any era. Thanks for jamming with us today, and make sure to check out our sponsor, Campfire.